Hi everybody, just on the post harvest of the first lot we pulled. So we had a really good first harvest, which was extremely encouraging. We're pulling again tomorrow, so tomorrow we should finish, and then it's just going to be working as fast as I can to get the rest of the honey off, because it is starting to crystallize now. That's what we get in the spring here, and we have to be really careful. As I said before, in the future I will have a little bit more time, because I'll be able to pull the honey off when I want to, and then go straight back to looking after my bees and not have to extract, because I can put it in my planned warming room, which is coming together slowly. I saw another stonemason yesterday who's given us another quote for the slab, which is brilliant, because I've been trying to get quotes from people, which is virtually impossible, but we're moving forward, so let's be positive about that. So it was just to say we've had a really good start to the harvest. I've been here this morning putting back the last of the supers back onto these hives. There's a couple of swarms, so we've got to work on that now to get those rectified and back up to speed before the summer flow. But we are, the 7th of May today, I believe, and we've now got a long gap just starting. There's a bit of nectar around, but hardly anything. Most of the spring flowers have finished. That means that there's going to be 5 weeks now without any nectar flow. And at the moment, it's really dry. I mean, everything looks beautiful right now. I mean, look at these flowers. Everything looks absolutely gorgeous and green and lush. You know, it couldn't be better. But that will change rapidly if we don't get any rain soon, because we have had no rain whatsoever for the last probably 5-6 weeks now. We have a nice crop of field beans over there that are in full flower, so if it goes hot, that will yield. That will give a bit to my bees in the meantime. But obviously I've put wet supers back on, and there's a lot of honey in the bottom of the colonies that I can use to make splits with. So I'll take maybe a frame of honey and leave the other frame of honey the other side, and keep an eye on the colonies of what's left, because the thing is, we don't want to take so much. We've got to start feeding our bees before the next flow, because with a super on, that creates issues, and we don't want to have to take the super off and then feed the bees and put the super back on. It just makes masses and masses of work. But it's that kind of, it just highlights how that every kind of half week or week is so different, and as beekeepers we get to know what we have to do. But for example, I'm like this week going, I've got to get this honey off, but I've got to get out there and stop swarming, or I've got to try and alleviate the pressure on the colonies. So like if you leave your supers at home not extracted, they start to crystallize. It's a catch-22. You're caught in this complete loop that until the honey is done, you're not free. You really need to just do it. So the best thing is just to work for 2 days solid and get it all extracted, because then you gain more honey, and if the weather's not too hot, then you shouldn't have too many swarms being issued. But you're gonna have some regardless. We don't do manipulations of the colonies here like demare and things like that, because we just don't have those size brood boxes for our datums. Our brood boxes are huge, and it's just too much hassle for us to do it. So we work on the fact that we can clip the wings of the queens, and I'm starting to do that this year. We change our queens regularly, and we give our bees plenty of space, and most of the time we have enough bees in boxes to make splits and have a good honey crop. And this year it's been a great start, as I said. So we're up to about 1.1 tons of spring honey so far, which is fantastic. So that's in the barrels now, and I'm so glad I got that load of barrels at home that I spent a long time cleaning over the winter, getting organised, thinking, oh, it'll be lovely if I fill these. I could easily fill the whole lot the way it's going. I might fill 2 or 3 more, so I might have 6 or 7 barrels by the end of the spring flow, but I don't know until I get tomorrow's off. The next lot to extract will be more work, because it's all what we say 10s. It's not on 8s, where the combs are thinner, so it takes longer to do it. But my new extractor's working great. It just takes time, and if there's some crystallization, then you have to take time to balance out the frames in the extractor, because you want otherwise it starts dancing across the floor. You know, it's another thing it's all about. It all takes time, and there's only so many hours in the day. So you got to do what you can. You just have to prioritize, and other things suffer. Yeah, but one of the things that helps me against swarming is the fact that the flow has stopped, and bees suddenly get this curtain coming down on the nectar flow. So for us, that's really good, because it means that they're not having to, well, they're less likely to swarm, because they think, well, what's happening, there's no food, so they just kind of retract a bit, and it's up to us just to keep an eye on that. But it means it frees up the brood nest, it gives the queens a little bit more time and space to lay, and that colony keeps growing, or it doesn't kind of go backwards, it just stays constant. So you give the space, the bees can hold, there's a pause in the nectar gathering, and then when the new flow starts, hopefully we'll have a good summer flow as well. But obviously what I'm doing at the same time, I'm making splits. I've got queen cells coming out tomorrow, I've got mini plus to do. I don't know which way to turn, to be honest. I'm just doing the best I can. I'm going to have to put my queen cells in the incubator this afternoon, excuse me, because I've got to get them all out of the finishers, because I need to take splits from the finishers as well. So I'm just doing this morning to get these supers back on, to relieve the pressure on these, but everything else has had the supers back on. And I'm finding a few swarms. I've got one in the hedge over here, but I mean, this is just like incidental, but I will spend a bit of time cutting it out, because why not? It's a low down swarm. It'll probably make a good nuke to overwinter, and it may even give me a bit of summer honey, because there's still plenty of time for it to grow. But it's not going to give me any eggs and larvae, it's not going to give me any young bees, because it's going to take 30 days for the eggs and larvae to hatch when I get that in a box. So that's the kind of problem we have, but it will grow quickly and it'll be in the flow, so it might give me a super honey at the end of it. So we just don't know. That's the kind of thing you got to remember. So everywhere we go this time of year, we're also taking nukes with us, because you might find a swarm like I've got there. So I've got a nuke there with some honey in it. But overall, I've got splits to make, and I'll make them at home this afternoon. I've got a lot of colonies to split this afternoon, start there, and we'll get some queens into those, some cells, and leave them to get mated. But really, really pleased. Really, really great start to the season. I had to have my hat on before, because there's a couple of Nancy bees following me around, but they seem to have moved off. But overall, I can't complain. We've got good weather coming up. I know a lot of people in Northern Europe and in the UK, for example, where the nectar flow is still running. Ours has literally just stopped here in the last 2 or 3 days, because our rape has gone over. And it's not just that the rape's finished, it's also at that same time the wild cherries are finished. The apples are finished. Most of the large groups of flowering plants and stuff like that have finished at that time of year. So what we've got to come is mostly the rape. Is mostly the bramble and the chestnut. So now we've got that pause. Now we try and rectify the colonies that have swarmed. Now we try and make nukes. Now we try and get everything finished and back up to speed and get everything tidy again, and kind of just recoil a bit and just, wow, what a ride, But I've got a lot of late nights this week coming up, because once we pull that honey tomorrow, it's got to be extracted straight away, because if I leave it, it will be a nightmare. The good thing is it's going to be warm, so my veranda, I close the doors off, leave the heater on overnight, and in the day I turn the heater off, because it's so warm with that sunshine coming in that it warms it to 28, 30 degrees. It's absolutely brilliant. So it really helps me extract, and I've got all the barrels I need. It's just the time it takes. But everything else is good, well, one other complication, my son got COVID last week after my first son got it, I think 5 weeks ago, and he got through that, and I didn't get it. My second son, Thomas, he got it last week, and he was positive Saturday last week. So I had to deal with that as well, and I've just been dreading catching it, because it makes life difficult for me. It's not the fact that I'm worried about really getting it, it's more the fact that I know I'm going to be exhausted for a few days, but I just need to get the work done now, and I don't want to lose my honey crop. If I got COVID, I doubt I'd have the energy to be able to extract. So it's never easy. You just have to do what you can and hope to goodness that you don't get COVID at the wrong time. You know, well, when is there a good time? But anyway, the numbers are all decreasing. So and I haven't got it at the moment. I'm still testing negative. So hopefully he'll be, should be through the contagious stage by tomorrow. And if I can get through that without getting it, I'll be really happy. So, you know, there's just so many things that are popping up all the time that just add massive complications to the otherwise chaos proceedings. But anyway, it is what it is, and we have to just get on and work with what we've got. Nothing is simple these days. Nice weather, not hot, but it's warming up more for us tomorrow, and I know the UK is going to get a really nice spell for their flow. So hopefully we're wishing all them good nectar flows and full supers like we've got here. Because I know some of my colleagues further south, they've got something like 4 supers on each hive. You know, it's like astronomical amount of honey coming in this spring, so it's brilliant. Really, really looking good at the moment. And the acacia, that a lot of people are finishing their spring flowers and moving to the acacia in the different regions around France. I've got everything set up for them. There's no sign of frost at the moment. It looks warm, and they're going to get a really good nectar flow for the acacia. And then it goes on, then it goes on. So a great start for everybody. You know, after such a terrible year last year, this is just a classic example of where you go, not exactly rags to riches, but 1 minute what can seem so bad is rectified by being so good the following year. And this weather means bees can forage every day, and generally the health of the colony gets really good. So that wasn't me, by the way. That was one of these horses. Anyway, whatever you're doing, have a awesome weekend, and I'll catch you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.